was a departure for us, I think, musically speaking, because we typically don't write songs that sound so fast-paced or upbeat. And it actually started from this little simple guitar riff. And I came in and played it for Joey, and there was something about it that I really liked, and we just could not figure out what to do with it, how to play it. I was playing it kind of soft like that, and then I kind of made it. Anyway, we just couldn't figure it out. So I can't remember how we came upon it. Maybe I think Chris might have been there, and I think he just said, why don't you just play a beat like this? And Joey started playing. It was like, oh, that works. So we were really happy because it's a different feel for us. And of course, as we recorded it and demoed it, I was able to start adding these different parts to it that made it feel a little bit more like what we normally do. Lyrically speaking, How Long We Wait, I think it works, in some ways it works a lot, works well with Fist to Face and I Know What You Are. So it has to do with, again, sort of being in the middle of the fight and in the middle of trying to create that change that you want to see. And that it's a struggle. You don't win all the time. It takes a long time. And so the title of the song, How Long We Wait, that's one of the lyrics from the song at the very end, and also an earlier lyric for me, but it resonated for me, how long we wait to see the light. So it just, I know that these movements, it takes decades sometimes, or longer, for these changes to actually make their way through the system, for the system to change, and then for it to actually happen. Once it happens politically, then culturally, it can take just as long for that to sort of to spread through, and all of those old assumptions and prejudices change or get swallowed up in some way. And so, the song is sort of speaking to that, that length of time, but also that sense of desperation and frustration that one feels going through that process, because you win some and you lose some, and there are good days and there are bad days. And I think that really is what the song is about. And there are many sections in that song, a lot of changes in the song, from the fast beginning to the solo section to the really quiet part to the really big ending. And at the very end of this song, I composed this sort of like, I guess it's sort of like a horn section playing this melody, which actually that melody is from the previous track, the acoustic track right before How Long We Wait. And we had originally written that acoustic track was something very different. And when we took that melody from it, I took the melody out of it and decided that it was a strong melody and I still wanted to use it. It had this sort of regalness to it. And that's how I wanted to end How Long We Wait, to help transition into the last song, Ashes Fall. Ashes Fall is the final song on the album, and Ashes Fall was also sort of, we started the album with Heretics, which was really aggressive for what we normally do, and Ashes Fall is really aggressive for for what we normally do. And really, I actually wrote the riff just playing around that. I was just playing at practice one day, and I looked at Joey and said, "Could we use that?" And I think Chris was there, and I was like, "Sure, we could use that." And so then Joey came up with this great drum beat. I was like, I would have never thought to have put a drum beat like that over top of the song. And so yeah, so that's how that song got started, almost by accident. And the lyrics of this final song sort of are like a capstone. It really sort of talks about when the years are long, and the shifts are small, sort of this idea that each little step takes so long, so you make this progress, but it's like, you take one step and you realize there's a mountain that you've got to climb, and so each verse is really another take on that idea of just the exhausting nature of fighting for what one believes. And even the chorus is, "Watch the embers rise, but the ashes fall." So it's sort of like this, this idea of sort of like, watching embers rise is this beautiful thing, but in the end, it's the ashes that fall back to the earth. And so it's this constant cycle of sort of rising up and falling and rising up and falling. And we had actually had the ending to that song, which is the that whole section. We had actually written that very early on as well, but we didn't know what to do with it. We couldn't figure out, is that the beginning of a song? Is it the end of a song? What's going to go around it? And so we actually wrote this song kind of backwards. We had that part first, this part. And then we thought, well, what could be another part? And I sort of wrote a variation of that, which is, so we had those two parts sort of later in the game, trying to figure out what to do with this. And then when I wrote that's when we were able to start taking those three parts and putting them together in an interesting way. And then the lyrics for that part, "When you feel your footing slip, wait. When you feel the only good is hate, breathe," was again this sort of like mantra, like, just try and stay patient, stick with it, have the long view of this, and that it's going to take time for this to sort of slowly, break down that enormous facade that holds, all of these things together. And then again, at the very end, what you hear is a section of an art performance by an artist, Faith Wilding, and it's a piece from a show called Woman House from the 1970s, and it's been reperformed before, and so I wanted to reperform a part of it at least, and so my wife and I recorded that end section, quoting the very end of the art performance piece, Waiting. And so that's what that last little section is, which I find that the whole art performance piece incredibly moving, and that section of the performance felt really like a compliment to the whole last section of the album, which has to do with this idea of waiting. And again, back to the song, How Long We Wait. So I really was trying to sort of pull in other cultural moments that had been part of really the women's art movement or feminist art from the 1970s on, just trying to incorporate some of those works into this album. In the end, I think the album Heretics has a lot of strengths, and of course we always, hear things that we would like to change. For me, it was really, compared to our first album, Lost and Gone Forever, which had a really tight narrative, I really wanted to try and to start tight and then sort of let this broaden out and not end with a specific sort of result or specific type of ending. I just wanted to open up, and I think in some ways that's a strength. In other ways it can be frustrating because the narrative doesn't close. It sort of remains open. You never know what happened to Elizabeth and what she did. You don't know, how long she was gone. But what we do know at this point, sitting where we are, is that what she did played a part in where we are now. And I think that sort of fictitious character having sort of these real world relationships that we know that the suffragette movement had success in many, many ways. And again, even though it's a fictitious story, I just wanted to capture some of what the struggle was, and also that there are still people struggling now, and that maybe this narrative, because it opens up and becomes less specific to one movement, can also be applied to so many other groups that feel marginalized or left out, and I think that was part of my other goal, was just to create something that was located in the past, but also applied directly to where we are now and to the future. And I think that there are some successes on the album in that way. Though again, I being one of the creators of the album, hear things that I wish I could have done different, or things that I would like to do different on the next album. So we'll see where that goes.